Good afternoon, and welcome to the Art League's second in our new series of Sunday with the Artist. We are thrilled today to have Carrie Ippolito to talk about her work, which is behind me here, and she will demonstrate how she mixes color, tonal qualities, and shapes to create the beautiful pieces that she creates. The other thing we're very fortunate to have at this very same time is our invitational photography show. And you will see that some of this is a part of the show. We had overrun. We had like 140 plus pieces of photography. So I'm going to turn this over to Carrie and let her. We're just thrilled to have her today, and we're thrilled that she's doing a workshop here. And I encourage people to take it. She and I had a long talk on the phone about what it was all about. And I am not an abstract painter, but I believe under every good painting there's an abstraction, and she agrees with that.
I agree with that, definitely.
All right, so Carrie.
All right,
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the grand
Enjoy.
introduction. Okay, real quick, I've been painting since I was 12 years old. I have a BFA degree. I've done workshops and demos up in the Midwest. So now I will be starting hopefully down here, my new home. And I've noticed there are so many women that are really, really interested in painting. And I also know of a lot of artists that are at the stage that I was at maybe 25 years ago, where I had started out with the idea that I wanted to paint the most realistic thing I could. It had to look like a photograph. And that, well, after doing that for 40 years, it was kind of like, I'm really not interested in that anymore. And I think as you get older, you are more introspective, and all of a sudden, abstract really appeals to you because now you want to put more emotion into your work. And this is what you can do with abstract. You do it through color and form and design and texture. And you can start, with the idea of just a color palette that you want to do. Maybe you bought a new bedspread and you bought it because you absolutely love every color on it. Well, you can go into painting that way with an abstract. It doesn't have to be a photo. What I want people to realize is that if you have been a painter for a long time, and now you want to try abstract, and you're going to go in and put your heart into it. Sometimes we come away with, well, why isn't it working? We forget that even if it's an abstract, it has to have good composition and design and line, and the color has to be value appropriate. In other words, you can't have just all red, 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 or whatever and think, oh my God, I'm going to put this painting in. You want to have some differences, and value is where you get that. And that the other thing that is so marvelous about our stage now is we have acrylics, and acrylics are so versatile that when we go to do these abstracts now, and which we will do in the workshop. And that we're also going to use stencils. We're going to use pencils and markers, and but the biggest thing I want to tell you is, have an open mind. And when you're painting, what if is always supposed to be responded with yes, I'm going to try it. And that, because it should be play. It shouldn't be what if, what if I do it and I screw the whole thing up. If you're really that worried about that, that's a really good reason to have 2 or 3 paintings going at the same time. Because then you can go to the other painting and try the what if, and then come back. You can Google what we call composition, design and composition, and you will get every artist's idea of what a good design for painting or composition is. Here's just a few that I found. Here's one. And the lines are really nicely done, on this one. This one's a little bit more, you can tell they did it with charcoal and pencil and put little frames around it. And some of these, compositions are very similar, to the others. Personally, I think I like this one, but that's because I was I was a landscape artist first. Here's one that we all know. It's called cruciform. And this is Jean Davies' painting. She uses cruciform a lot. Here's one that I really liked, and I liked the artist's rendition of this one, curvilinear. And here's a painting that is curvilinear. And that's a real fun one. This one is horizontal, and this is Ty Bencorn. But he's from the California School of Artists, and he's done such wonderful, marvelous work. And he's using horizontal composition, and that. I just absolutely love it. What we're going to do today, and it won't be quite like this, it'll be much more straight lines or whatever for now, is what they call overlapping frames. And now this is just a sample, of what other artists are doing. Another one where you're landscape artists and you're coming to abstract, one of the favorites are these here, because we're already, or even this one with an S or a Z that takes the eye into. The reason I'm bringing this up, and we'll talk about it more in the workshop, is that sometimes when you're going into the abstract world, which is a genre, by the way, it's not, just abstract or whatever. I mean, you've got surrealism, Dadaism, Fauvism, Cubism. They're all abstract. We're more familiar, I think, especially in America, with abstract expressionists, because, we have a bunch of them. And they're very famous people and beautiful work. But we think that sometimes, I've got to be free, so I'm just going to take the paint and I'm going to put it here and I'm going to put it there. And then I'm going to sprinkle it with water and drip it and then you wonder why you're lost. You have all this beautiful paint and color and so forth, but it's not working. Well, it's not working because you don't have a good design. You don't have a foundation. And a lot of artists now today are not just using overlapping frames or diagonal. Some of them will actually take 2. So they'll have a portion of it that's curvilinear, and then they'll have overlapping frames, over here. But it's the idea that of these compositions and you remember how you did your landscape or your portrait or whatever, you'd start with a real quick sketch. You can do the same thing when you're, getting ready. And yet I don't want to stop the artist that feels, I just want to go up to my easel. I'm in love with this new color. that I've got, and I really want to play, with it. That's good, but at some point, step back and make up your mind, what kind of foundation do you want under? It will help you immensely as you proceed. And with that, maybe we should start to paint. Um, like I said, we're going to use stencils, so I brought a few stencils. You can buy all of this, but you can also just take, paper in your studio, and start painting on it, and get some really, neat shapes, and just glue them, put them on. That's your beginning. That's how you can start. And what's nice with acrylics is if you don't have any polymer medium, which they're, saying is the great glue, or whatever, don't forget if you've got a nice layer of paint underneath there already, it's going to stick if you press it in, and roll it and so forth and that. So what I love is when you find bags, or you get this wonderful tissue paper wrapped in a gift or whatever, just, save a little bit of that. And handmade papers. This is fabulous. If you've got any friends that make, paper, be real nice to them and see if you can't get, a good pile of it or whatever, because once you paint over this, the texture is absolutely gorgeous. You're going to love it. And of course, little scraps of your letters, are always nice as well. This is off of another painting that didn't quite make it. Who knows? Maybe we'll find a place for it, in here. I'm not sure. I don't know how many of you use this palette and that, but save the paper. You've got some more, good collage material and you'd be surprised how well it works. And that. Okay, here's paper stencils. You do not have to clean, so I like paper stencils. You just keep using them and building up layers of paint on them, and they last. And then you can go online or someplace and pay $1 for an antique page, put that in there. And that I have not tried that as yet. Okay, so where do we begin? Usually I tell people to think of primary colors. The painting down here was done in all primaries. And this time I thought, well, instead of blue as a primary, I'm going to use Payne's Gray. And I'm going to use yellow. And that is very hard to get many things that you can change in for yellow, unless you go to every artist wonderful quinacridone gold. Everybody loves quinacridone gold. And then I've got kind of a maroon color here, and I've got orange, and I've got pink, and it may not work together, but as we go and it's not working or whatever, how do you get this diverse palette to work? Is you go in and as you're doing your mixtures, you try and put a little bit of all the other colors in it. So once it gets on there, it's going to, I'm not loud enough yet. I'm so sorry. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Anyway, let's get started. Always wet your brush. It's much easier to get the paint out of the brush later on after your session if you wet it first. If you don't and you go in with the dry brush, it's just really hard to get it out. And let's see, I'm gonna put some yellow out here. I'm gonna put a little bit of white into it. I'm gonna put a little bit of gray. So are you using the color wheel at all to decide on your colors, the color wheel? Color wheel, no, I'm not, because I'm just saying all you need is one each of a yellow, a blue, and a red. And maybe it's going to be turquoise and magenta, and yellow or quinacridone. And that, does anybody know of the works of Mary Todd Bean? And she has just that one palette that she uses all the time, and it's beautiful work. But what we want, again, is we want to think about values. And this, do I? No, I found this brush is, where is this brush from? Oh, Alexander's. Over at Hobby Lobby, they used to have it. I don't know if they have it anymore. Alexander was an oil painter, and they make good brushes. And but I'll pick up different brushes everywhere. I love these brushes, and even small bristly, brushes. You'll see me go into this one. It's one of my favorites. And of course, it's got a nice end on it for scratching into, if you'd like. This is the latest thing that you can get everywhere, are these scrapers or whatever. But you can actually go into your paint and start, putting it on with it. And it gives, an unusual texture. And so you're going to go through a lot of paint with it. But I like the feel that you get with it too. Now they have other ones that are look more like a paintbrush. Of course, I did not bring one. And I think they call them silicone brushes, and that there's no bristles. It's just a wedge of silicone that you push around. Here's another tool that a lot of people use for, applying paint. And let's put a little bit of the pink into this batch of color. And do I paint this way at home? Oh, not quite. I'm a little nervous. Anyway, so you can take the roller and roll into it, and then you can apply. And what I like is it doesn't go on perfectly smooth, but I like that already, so it's a good reason, to use it. But let's go for more purpley. And that. Now, what if I put this on with? I put it on the drawing, the foundation. Where is it? A big fat pencil, lead. They sell these in soft, medium, and hard, and I love them because they're nice to, grab. And I think that's at Hobby Lobby as well. It's it's pencil, but it's in a big square, kind of form rather than graphite. How's that? I think it's graphite. And the other thing I like to tell people is you can paint into and around, and I should turn this up again, I guess, so you can see. I'm still going into this clock here. And that because right now I'm doing what we call laying in, and so you don't have to be, real precise with it. Let's see what happens when we add some of that orange to it.
That's interesting. You use just 3 primaries, correct?
Yeah.
You choose 3 primaries.
I am actually using Payne's Gray instead of blue because there's a lot of blue in Payne's Gray. And actually, I've got orange and pink and that Bordeaux, which are all in the red family. The one that I am not using anything different on is that yellow. And that, but when you're mixing these and you're adding the white and the black, to them, you're going to get different values. But you're going to get some colors that you never thought you would paint with before. And everybody is shocked. Yeah, the painting will be shocking. It's a little too bright. And then I prefer things that are a little bit more muted, so I'm going with a little bit softer, into this right now. And that, but maybe we'll take this one down here.
I have a question.
Yes, perfect.
Cover the canvas before you start anything?
No, I'm starting with a raw canvas because this particular canvas is linen and it's smooth and it takes paint so very, very well. The canvas that I started on at home is a new product, well, it's not new anymore, but it's called Yes, Y-E-S. And you'll see that is so smooth. When you put the paint on, it's like you're working with a real smooth piece of paper when you would do your watercolors on a real smooth piece versus something that has any kind of texture, or whatever. So. Yes, question? No? Okay. All right, I can see where this is going towards. What I would love it to go towards is a little bit more green. You see where all these little edges are that I'm leaving? If you had a toned canvas under there, that would be showing and you'd already be well ahead. So it's a great idea to tone your canvas, especially when it helps you decide, am I doing a warm painting or am I doing a cool painting? And that. So great question. All right. This is not the way I started the other one.
I think what's so cool about the colors you're choosing is that there are 3 primaries, even though they're different ones. So you've simplified the palette.
You get, every time you go to paint, if you use secondary instead of the primary, you're going to be amazed. It's like you're learning to paint all over again. You have a new set of colors. Your canvases are going to be different, from, okay, I'm carrying on. And now, another thing that a lot of artists would prefer to do before, talking about toning is one thing. Another thing is often you can take other product that builds up, something that has more tooth to it, and you can lay that across, and you'll already have texture. I'm not always that crazy about texture, so I'm not doing that, but you can, and it would be different. Oh, that's a good question. What do you call all of these things? See if I've got any of it in here. Here's heavy gel. You could actually mix this with, let's do that and put it on. And if you keep this stuff in your studio and you don't use it, you know what happens?
Yeah.
Dries up. Yeah. So it's a good reason to pull it out and play, you know. So I'm going to put it right over here into the color that we're already working on and we're mixing. I don't know if you can see that. So now you have a really thick, you know, paint to play with. That's the whole idea. Now this, when you put it on like this, and if it's not mixed properly, which maybe this isn't mixed enough, you know, and then I'm putting a little paint spray into it right now, just to get a little variance. Of course, it's picking up the yellow too, which is a happy accident, maybe. We'll see. Did I bring? Yes, I did. Have you all ordered one of these through Amazon? Oh my God, I just got one. I mean, somebody told me that the reason I couldn't collage right was because I didn't have this. You know, but I found out, hey, it doesn't just do collage. It's great, you know, for putting on the paint. Ugh. Now I'll have to clean it off a little bit, which is always good for your painting as well. And that, but I want to get deeper into that. Okay, I think after I put this area in, I think what I'd like to start doing is putting some of the collage pieces in. And at some point, we have to look at this basic drawing and decide, well, is it working, you know, the way we want it to work? You know, the worst thing about, and the good thing, if you're afraid of mixing, you know, paint, and we all know acrylic dries very, very fast. As soon as you start adding this stuff, it slows it down. And then for me, it's why I don't use it a lot. And I don't want to slow it down. I really love that idea. And somebody asked me, why did I switch from oils to acrylics? I won't tell you when they asked me. And I said, because I'm old. And, and I don't have that many more years to paint. It's like that thing with the bananas, you know. All right, if this top part ever dries again, of course, maybe it's not going to dry, so why don't we put some collage up there? What can we put up there? Any suggestions, anybody? How about this? Good idea? This one? Oh, I know this is the wrong way of doing it, but it's just going to have to work. tear this one while it's up there. Okay. I don't know if you're noticing, but that stuff really made it slippery. Okay, at this point, this is that graphite again. You can actually, go in here now and go over, some of this and decide we're going to change maybe I think we're going to bring that. Ooh, I know, I want black. I love black. Well, I'm using a Payne's Gray, and you can add anything to your black, paint that you're putting in. So this time, it's going to be a messy table up here. This time, here's some Payne's Gray, and we'll just take a little bit of this, and it'll make it a real kind of deep purple, whatever, which I think will be great. And I don't know how many places I want this yet. You could even go into it with another color while it's on the, canvas as well. It'll just make it more interesting.
Okay, another question. In abstract, do you aim to have a focal point or not?
You know what? I think it's a good idea sometimes to have a center of interest or a focal point, but some abstracts I think work better as a democracy, where you go all over, everywhere. Where you find maybe you're leading the eye around. Yeah, you want to lead, your viewer. And I remember one critique that I got one time with the painting, and I can't remember what I had over here, but the teacher came up and said, "Oh, this is nice. It's so friendly. It's pointing right to the person who's hanging next to you. That's really nice." And I go, "Oh, okay. Not what I wanted." Now, a lot of times I will put the painting down on the table and I will, sprinkle some water or something, on it to make drips or whatever. If you do that, if you sprinkle the water and then you spray over it lightly, with alcohol, it makes all of those bead up. And then if you turn it, because it's got a little head on it now, it starts traveling, and it's great. But even with stencils and that, you don't want people to say, "Oh, I know what that is." "Oh, look at, she's got sprinkled all over." You want them to say, "How did she do that?" So you really want to get rid of some of it. I mean, you don't want to, a little bit goes a long way and that, but I think I'm going to like this combination, of colors. I don't know about you. Who knows, maybe I'll have it finished before the workshop, or I'll bring it to the workshop and we can talk about it. But anyway, that's more or less, and there are a lot more layers that are going to go on this because that's how I get my texture. Oh, and I wanted to talk to you about that too, because a lot of people don't think of it. Didn't bring any plain paper. So let's use this and we'll clean off this, and that we'll just put a bunch of it on. All right, when this bit here dries, it's going to have a lot of texture. And in fact, that is a little too high right there. But I will paint over this, and it will, I'll either put a glaze over it where it pulls everything together, all these, the pink and the green, and everything else. Or I may end up, collaging on it. And of course, this is getting prettier and prettier, so we'll save that. I make stamps sometimes. Have you used this for stamps? So you buy this stuff, it's got an adhesive back. And if you have a little bit of this, you can cut a shape, with your, sometimes what I find is I like just plain straight lines. So here's what you could end up with. And then what they recommend is that you put a piece of tape like a tab so you can, hold it or whatever. But let's see if we can put some paint on it. Okay, here. It works. It's really, so you can make your own. And then we were talking about the stencil. And where's that brush? Oops, there's that brush.
I haven't done this stuff. This is just like a new thing, but I see how I'm looking at these others, and after that dries, you could go over with a very muted color and make different layers.
Oh, you definitely want more layers. This is just, this is your start. But if you start with some kind of foundation, even if we change this a little bit later, if we decide, oh, I don't like this here, I want to break that up. I want to make it, a smaller rectangle over there. Well, this is when I should be doing it on the table, but well, when you come up, you'll see it. It's there. And these brushes are, fun to use. The other thing that you'll really use the most, though, with your stenciling are these. They're fantastic. And makeup brushes, sponges. Yeah, perfect. Oh, and here's another tool that when I was teaching landscape to students, what I'd find is somebody sitting looking at their painting and just not sure. And you'd come up and ask them, and I really don't know if I want a bird there or if I'd like a bird over there. And that what I found was that you could take these watercolor crayons and you can go and you can put the bird in. And as soon as you put something on this, it's going to stay, and that if you don't like it and you've put it over acrylic, like when I was teaching landscape, you would just go in and take water and it would come right off. So you have that choice. But this is nice for extra detail if you're not sure you want that kind of detail. I know of a lot of acrylic artists, and one of them sitting in the back row there, who uses oil pastel. Oh God, she does wonderful things with it on her acrylics. Gail, take a bow. Yeah. All right. So this is the other thing with collage. It's like minding a 2-year-old. You have to keep looking at it or it's going to bubble up. So you have to keep, playing with it, whatever, and paste it down again. And so let's leave this one. All right, this one was started at home, but that same format. And of course, I was thinking of Valentine's Day, so excuse me for the colors. But when you come up, and there's more layers that go on this in more detail, but I want everybody to look at this. It is one mess. So when you go to the store and you think you're buying this, oh, wouldn't this be pretty in my painting? It's got writing on it, or in this case, music. As soon as you try and glue this, it bubbles up. There's a chemical reaction. So I will have to go in with the sander and sand that off, before I can go much further. And this is the stencil. This is that stencil that I told you about, the paper, stencil. And that, this is, scratching in, whatever. There are so many, areas that you can break up. If you come up here, you'll see that this is crayon. And yes, it is covered with the medium, so it, won't go anywhere. All right, anybody want to come up and ask questions after viewing, or have I totally exhausted you all?
You started out that one with 3 basic colors.
Uh-huh.
White.
Right.
So this is your thing that works.
For me, I have never had any problem, with that. And I am just so enthralled when I see other paintings, and I try and get up close and just figure out, what colors did they use? What red did they use? And that it really invites a lot of, excitement.
Do you have any rules as far as warm and cool colors, like which ones?
Well, the cool really recedes and the warm, comes forward. The biggest thing that I find, and what I find missing in this painting now and will have to be addressed, are values. That's all too close to the same thing. So what I'll do is I'll go home and I'll take a picture of it in black and white, and I'll study it, and then I'll go in and make some, drastic changes. And before I do any of that, I will put a coating of either the polymer out of the can that you finish with, because I use that now often if I don't have the medium, or I will use polymer gloss, medium, and that. And if you don't like a glossy shine, just go with the matte or the satin. The satin is nice, as well. This one I felt was really different, for me. And I'm liking, artists that are putting more of their drawing. And in fact, it's something that I have on my to-do list for the year, is to put more drawing into my paintings. All right, any other questions, folks?
I hope to see some of you at the workshop.
When is the date of your show, of your
Workshop.
March 6th and 7th, the first weekend in March.
What time will it be?
Probably 9 to 3 or something. I mean, you'll get a good day's work.
How many days? 2 days? Is it 1 day or 2 days?
2 days, Saturday and Sunday. Thank you. Thank you very much.